The American Civil War. Why did the Confederates lose? Ever find yourself pondering the past, wondering how pivotal moments unfolded and forever changed the course of history? Well, today we're delving deep into the heart of one of the most significant conflicts in American history, the Civil War. But hold on to your hats, because we're not just going to skim the surface, we're going straight to the heart of the matter. Why did the Confederates lose? Picture this. The year is 1861, and the United States is torn by the specter of civil strife. Brother against brother, state against state, the nation stands on the precipice of an unimaginable rupture. On one side, you have the Union, steadfast in its resolve to preserve the Union and abolish the scourge of slavery. And on the other, well, that's where things get truly fascinating. The Confederacy, a coalition of southern states, stands to fight against the tide of history. But despite their bravado and fervent belief in their cause, they ultimately found themselves on the losing side of history's ledger. But why? What led to their downfall, their ultimate defeat at the hands of Union forces? The Battle of Gettysburg, July the 1st through the 3rd, 1863. This three-day battle in Pennsylvania marked a significant turning point in the war. Confederate General Robert E. Lee's attempt to invade the North was thwarted by Union General George Meade. The battle resulted in heavy casualties for both sides, but the Confederacy suffered a decisive blow. The failure to secure a victory on Northern soil dashed Confederate hopes for foreign recognition and intervention. Additionally, the staggering losses experienced by Lee's Army of Northern Virginia weakened their ability to sustain prolonged offensives. The Siege of Vicksburg was a crucial battle in the American Civil War, lasting from May the 18th to July the 4th of 1863. Union General Ulysses S. Grant surrounded the Confederate stronghold of Vicksburg, Mississippi after failed assaults. The Confederate garrison surrendered after enduring over 40 days of siege, marking a significant victory for the Union. Capturing Vicksburg completed the northern strategy of the Anaconda Plan, severing Confederate access to the Mississippi River. This victory, along with the fall of Port Hudson, secured Union control of the river. The surrender of Vicksburg and General Robert E. Lee's defeat at Gettysburg are often seen as the turning points in the war, splitting the Confederacy in two. Lincoln hailed Vicksburg as the key to the war. So there's this thing called the lost cause of the Confederacy. Basically, it's a big old myth that started back in 1866. People who buy into it believe that the Confederacy during the Civil War was all noble and heroic and that slavery wasn't really a big deal. But historians have shown that it was really bad. This myth has stuck around for ages, shaping how folks think about race, gender, and even religion in the South. The Battle of Antietam, fought on September the 17th of 1862, was a major clash during the Civil War between Union and Confederate forces near Sharpsburg, Maryland. It was the bloodiest day in American history, with over 22,000 casualties. Though inconclusive tactically, it was a strategic Union victory as it halted Lee's invasion of the North. While McClellan's cautious approach drew criticism, Lincoln's confidence was boosted, leading to the Emancipation Proclamation. This deterred foreign recognition of the Confederacy, aiding the Union cause. Antietam marked a turning point, both militarily and politically, in favor of the Union. Sherman's March to the Sea, November through December of 1864. Sherman's March to the Sea was a brutal military campaign led by General William T. Sherman during the American Civil War. From November the 15th to December the 21st of 1864, Union troops ravaged Georgia, destroying military targets, industries, and civilian property. Sherman's scorched earth policy aimed to cripple the Confederacy's economy and transportation. This strategy, considered an early example of modern warfare, significantly weakened the Southern war effort. Following the campaign, Sherman's army marched through South Carolina, inflicting even more destruction due to resentment towards the state's role in the war. The march through North Carolina was less severe. Overall, Sherman's devastating campaign demonstrated the Union's ability to wage total war and contributed to the eventual surrender of the Confederacy. Back in the day, being a slave in the United States was nothing short of a nightmare. Not only were folks forced into unpaid work and forbidden from leaving their owners, but they also had to endure all sorts of awful stuff. We're talking about things such as sexual abuse, no chance at education, and punishments like lashing with belts. And get this, families were torn apart by the sale of loved ones, and they rarely ever got to see each other again. But here's where things get really messy. You've got these folks, the Lost Cause supporters, who try to paint slavery as no big deal. They claim the Civil War wasn't really about ending slavery, but about states' rights and protecting the Southern way of life. They say the Confederates were the good guys fighting against Northern aggression. But let's get real here. Most historians today aren't buying it. They're waving their fact flags high and proud saying, hey, slavery was the main reason for the whole tragedy, and they've got the evidence to back it up. So while some might try to rewrite history, the truth is clear. The Civil War was all about freeing people from the chains of slavery. The fall of Richmond, April 2nd of 1865. Richmond, Virginia served as the Confederate capital during the Civil War, crucial for its supplies and transportation hub. Despite Union attempts to invade, it was heavily defended. In 1862, General McClellan's Peninsula Campaign got close, but Lee's forces repelled them. In 1864 and 65, General Grant besieged nearby Petersburg. By April of 1865, realizing defeat, the Confederate government fled Richmond, setting fire to military supplies. The Union's capture of Richmond dealt a devastating blow to the Confederacy, leading to its collapse. The loss of Richmond marked the symbolic end of the Confederacy, with Lee surrendering at Appomattox Courthouse shortly after. All right, let's dive into the Confederate mindset during the Civil War. Now, from where we stand today, it might seem like the Union had all the cards stacked in their favor. More manpower, more draft animals, and bigger factories. But guess what? At the start of the war, most folks fighting for the Confederacy didn't see it that way. Nope. They looked at their massive chunk of land, their sprawling coastline, and their belief in their own fighting prowess and thought, hey, we got this. And you know what? They put up a real fight. The North had to change up their game plan because the Confederates weren't going down without a brawl. This whole hard war approach, especially in places like Central Virginia and Tennessee, really put the squeeze on Southern families. Plus, the Confederate government wasn't playing nice either, slapping folks with drafts, taking their items, and hiking up prices left and right. So yeah, it wasn't all sunshine and roses for the Confederacy, but they sure gave it their all for 4 long years. Now let's talk about how folks on the Confederate side felt about their own government's policies during the Civil War. Spoiler alert, they weren't always thrilled about them. Some people grumbled about these policies, waving the states' rights flag, even though deep down they knew these measures were necessary to keep the war machine chugging along. Some historians say that people complaining about Confederate leaders weakened their ability to lead, maybe even causing some to join the Union. But recent studies show a different story. Even if Confederate civilians criticized their leaders, they still supported the cause, thinking, we'll deal if it helps us win. Some blamed their problems on the Union, strengthening their support for the Confederacy. So while there was grumbling, most white Southerners stayed loyal to the Confederacy. All right, let's talk about Union victories during the Civil War, especially outside of Virginia. Picture this. Union troops were making moves, starting with taking control of the Mississippi River by capturing Vicksburg in 1863. They also got pretty good at blocking the Confederate coastline by early 1864 and were steadily pushing deeper into Confederate territory. Union control in Western Virginia kicked off as early as 1861. By 1863, it led to the birth of West Virginia, a state loyal to the Union. This success not only boosted the morale of Union supporters, but also made life harder for the Confederates. You see, those loyal to the Union in counties along the Ohio River held strong throughout the war, denying Virginia the resources it needed to keep fighting. And here's the kicker. Union control in this region wasn't just about bragging rights. It was a strategic move that allowed the North to launch attacks into places like the Shenandoah Valley and beyond, keeping the pressure on Confederate forces. In eastern Virginia, General Lee defended against Union forces until mid-1864. Then Ulysses S. Grant led the Overland Campaign surrounding Lee near Petersburg. Grant had more troops and supplies, putting the pressure on Lee. Grant cut off Lee's food, making life hard for Confederate soldiers. By April of 1865, Lee's troops were struggling, some even collapsing from hunger. Grant's strategy worked, and it was clear the Confederacy was close to defeat. The Confederates lost the American Civil War due to a combination of factors, including economic disadvantages, strategic blunders, and internal divisions. By understanding the complexities of this pivotal conflict, we gain insights into the shaping of modern America. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on historical topics. And thanks for watching.